Welcome to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan.
Wow. And I'm saying wow, Sharon, because I
Hmm.
just read the topic of today's discussion that you put up. And this is an interesting one. It says marketing side of sales.
Right.
Yeah, we have already done sales and marketing
Hmm.
and not sales versus marketing.
Hmm.
And now we continue on a theme which is very dear to sales guys, which is infiltration. So this is marketing infiltration onto sales side.
This is not the sales infiltration, by the way.
I'm sure it is not.
Hmm.
Okay, but I love the topic and I
Hmm.
think it is very relevant to talk about it to all the sales guys as well as marketing guys. And I also love the fact that you've chosen to talk about the very basic of
Yep.
that in this particular episode and left the rest of it possibly to be covered in the second part of this episode.
Yeah, I think the whole concept of marketing side of sales should be split into two
Hmm.
because one is a function of distribution and the
Hmm.
other is a function of driving sales at the point of sale. So I think we'll cover the distribution angle today and get to the driving pickup at the point of sale in a follow up episode to this.
Excellent. Okay, let's do that.
So I work with a lot of emerging FMCG businesses, right? So in that, one common thread that I find is that the marketing team and the sales team are almost disconnected. Usually, the founders are very keyed on to the marketing team, or they say, "I know what brand I'm building. I know how I want to go about it," and the sales team is largely in disconnect. I'll give you an example. I was working with this biscuit company where the owner of the company had studied in the UK, had come back to India. It's not a small company; it's about 250 300 crore company, and they had invested heavily in imported machinery of German make and other different country makes, and they were making the most premium of products, premium of cookies, and the sales had been stagnant for the last 2 years, despite having launched six new innovations.
Hmm.
So this the whole brief for me was how can we grow? We're investing so much into this. We're making the best product and we're still not growing. We're not able to get
Okay.
distribution. So going into the market, I realized that the sales team has no idea how to go about selling the premium cookies that are being made by the marketing team. They're investing in branding, they're investing in the design, they're actually investing a lot into the product itself. It's a very good biscuit, a cookie. But the sales team has not been told how to sell it. So in conversation, I said, this is a premium cookie. This has to be placed in premium stores. And then I came on to this discovery. Maybe I was a little ignorant to this, that most FMCG businesses that I've worked with have a retail classification. What kind of stores do you supply to? So they have wholesale and they have retail. A lot of them say this store does wholesale and retail. Basically, it's a retail store that gets wholesale prices.
Yeah.
And there is this wonderful classification called ABC classification.
Yeah. There always is. Yes.
Yeah. So A are the top stores which sell premium products. C are the panwalas and the low end kirana stores. And B, if you can't fit a store into A or C, then it becomes B.
Hmm.
There is no standard definition of what makes A, what makes B, what makes C, and what my job as a salesman is in each of these stores.
Hmm. It is more internal out. How much do they buy from us?
Exactly. So what was happening to this business was that the sales team had largely come from the tobacco industry, and they knew all the panwalas and the kirana stores in the area,
Hmm.
and they knew their payback capacity was 250 rupees for the week.
Hmm.
So no matter what German innovation the company was launching, the salesman was sure he's going to bill to this panwala for 250 rupees a week.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So they were doing what we used to call as CRS, continuous replenishment system at Panwalas.
Exactly. I've seen this with quite a few companies. The
Hmm.
sales team is asked to distribute
Hmm.
without too much of a guidance on what kind of products they're doing.
Hmm.
I uh, I met with a company that sells nappies like
Hmm.
Huggies and Pampers,
Hmm.
and the founder was worried about grocery store distribution.
Hmm.
It just didn't make sense. So I said they were not even going after chemist stores
Hmm.
because the distributor who they'd appointed wasn't a chemist distributor. He knew the grocery, the kirana guys better.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what I've realized is that with this episode, what founders and entrepreneurs and business owners in the consumer space can learn is that you need to identify the kind of stores your product must be in. And there is also a hierarchy of saying what store, what kind of a retail environment does my product have the best chance of selling through to the customer.
Hmm. Fair, fair. And in fact, Sharon, in the past when we have spoken about, you know, deciding, taking various critical decisions about your product or your service, we always say that try to retrace consumer's journey,
Hmm.
understand where would the consumer go, etc. And that could also be a great indication of what are the kind of stores that the consumer is likely to go to,
Hmm.
and hence where should your brand be present in. Uh,
Absolutely.
and the what you call about is the period before the long queue
Hmm.
is where when you supply to different kind of stores, and you spoke about this in the last to last episode, where we spoke about setting up retail distribution, general
Right.
trade distribution, and
Hmm.
you said that sell into different kind of stores in your vicinity,
Hmm.
and then let the product do the talking,
Right.
see what works, what doesn't work, etc. A combination of these two will obviously help you come up with the best possible choice of stores where you will sell the most, and
Right.
all kind of stores that you must be selling to.
Absolutely. In fact, I think the best work that I've seen, I'm sure there are others who've done great work. The best work that I've seen happened to be at Cadbury.
Yeah.
And I think we both should credit Mr. Naveen Keswani and Sunil Sethi for doing this retail classification system
Hmm.
within Cadbury. This was what,
Hmm.
2008, 2007, 8 is when this was
Yeah,
done.
2007 8, I think. Yeah,
Uh,
2008 largely.
so I know you know this, but I'm going to go through this for the listeners.
Hmm.
So because we were in the business of chocolates, the sales leadership divided the stores that we were going to distribute our products to into different retail environments. So
Hmm.
when I say retail environments, they're formats of stores is a cruder way of saying it. But okay, let's go one by one. First were the standalone supermarkets. So these are basically self-service stores. They were supermarkets, but they were not part of the chain. Therefore, they were not part of modern trade. They were still serviced by the general trade or the traditional trade sales team. Two were the food stores. So these were big for Cadbury because these were stores like bakeries or confectionery stores which sold primarily food products. And you sold them there because why? Because Cadbury is a snack. The best chance it has of selling out is from a store where people are coming to buy food products. And where you have the best chance to sell. Then you have grocery stores. Now, even grocery stores weren't just generically called just groceries or kiranas. Even they were classified into two different kinds of stores. High-end grocers, they were labeled, I think back then, they were called stores which had the owner with at least two helpers and electronic or computerized billing. They were called the high-end grocers. And the low-end grocers were the smaller kirana stores, which had one person or two people from the same family running that store. And then came the chemists. These were the pharmacy chains or the pharmacy stores that we had to be distributed into. And then came the Paan shops, which were the petty shops that we put our stocks into. Now, let me ask you a question, Sudeep. If if we had to choose back then as Cadbury to be available in only one of these retail environments, which one would we have chosen?
I think so. Given the portfolio that we had in 2007-8, I would have possibly said low-end grocers.
Mm-hmm.
They were numerous in numbers. We had small packs. Most of the portfolio was at 1 rupee and 5 rupees.
Mm-hmm.
It would have given us the best possible chance of getting to all the consumers.
Right.
But later, when the portfolio evolved, we came up with significantly larger, pack size, more premium
Premium offerings.
products.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hence I think the relative revenue of the company also would have shifted significantly from low end grocers or legs to hegs and food stores.
Right. So I forgot I was talking to a mass market ASM.
Yes,
So for the listeners in Cadbury, we had this classification of sales. We had two different sales teams. We had the mass sales team, which was what, 5 rupees and below 5 rupees.
below 5 largely is 3 rupees, 2 rupees, 1 rupee and 50 paisa.
So that would be candy largely, and
Yeah,
the
largely candy or candies forms of larger chocolates. So 2 rupee gems,
right,
2 rupee 5 star, 2 rupee perk, 3 rupee Mr. Pops,
right.
uh, and 50 paisa halls, and 1 rupee bobalu.
Not even the 5 rupee dairy milk was part of it.
Not even the 5 rupee dairy milk.
Ah,
That
okay.
was the base business.
Base business. So the base was anything above five and above was considered the base business. So the
Yes,
distribution itself was different depending on the SKU size.
correct.
And why was that? So why was it important to have a distribution set up based on SKU size and therefore sell into different retail environments? Why was that important?
Yeah, I think, and it goes back to where you started from. And I remember this articulation that our sales director um, and customer marketing head, Mr. Keswani, came up with at that point in time. Their mission was to make sales a science,
Mm,
and they wanted to get into selling, which was far more scientific than accidental selling.
right.
And therefore, their formula was, how do you make sales a science? You decipher what a shopper needs, and it's first started by saying who is shopper and
Mm,
how is a shopper different from consumer.
right.
Second part was what does a shopper need when they walk into a store,
Mm,
and depending on that need we must make an SKU available.
right.
And one of the clearest examples that I remember at that point in time used to give, and that was one of the markers of stores also,
Mhm,
was that HEG or high end grocers are stores from where you buy your monthly grocery,
mm.
and hence that is where you will find multiple SKUs of 500 gram and 1 kg Bonvita, because that's a pantry SKU. The
Right.
lady of the house buys it and keeps it. And a LEG is a top up store,
The low end
which is,
grocer.
yeah, low end grocers, which is near your home where you quickly run and pick up something and take it back. That is where you will find and you will sell your rupees 20 Bonvita,
Right.
yeah, which is a top up if they happen to finish their quota of Bonvita in the pantry.
Hmm.
So that kind of indicated to us that why do you need to sell
Hmm.
different kind of SKUs in different retail environments.
Right. So they also had this classification of products, right? Must sell SKUs.
Yeah, MSS.
Yeah, MSS. So
Yes,
these were SKUs that had to be sold into specific stores
correct,
because that's where they had the best chance of selling out. You weren't
correct,
limited to them, but these were the SKUs you must ensure distribution for in those specific stores.
correct.
So, Sudeep, you've worked at Cadbury and you also gone to Pidilite. This would vary by category, right? So the importance of the channel or the retail environment would vary by category. Sometimes even within the category, by the way the brand is positioned, it would still vary.
I would possibly say that it varies by category.
Hmm.
Like you were earlier saying, we were in chocolate, so we were looking at chocolate consumers or confectionery consumers and what do they want to do.
Right.
For example, in the category that I currently work with, uh, because we are selling to people who are either building their homes or renovating their homes,
Hmm.
they have a particular mission when they walk into stores.
Hmm.
Yeah, when we let me give some examples. We have building material stores, BMS stores.
Hmm.
These are stores that kind of stock an entire assortment of construction related material. usually catering to new construction consumer,
Mm-hmm.
and the new construction consumers might be able to find everything from cement, steel, brick
Hmm.
to smaller hardware items, etc. And their mission, the shopkeeper's mission, is to provide the entire range to the consumer,
Hmm.
and the consumer's mission is that I this is one stop shop for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that is where you possibly deliver your entire portfolio. Then there are
Right.
stores which we call as, for example, tile and sanitary.
Hmm.
Now these are stores which are specifically accessed by the consumer when it comes to the stages of bathroom.
Right.
Yeah, or wet areas,
Hmm.
kitchen and bathroom.
Hmm.
And that's where you make your kitchen and bathroom portfolio available.
Right.
Yeah, although you could further go on and say that I will upsell, cross sell to that consumer,
Hmm.
but you exactly know why is the consumer walking into this store.
Okay.
Yeah, similarly, then you have paint and hardware stores, so you know
Hmm.
the guy is walking in with a specific requirement.
Hmm.
Yeah, and hence you make that kind of a portfolio available there. So I agree to your first point where you said that it varies by category,
Mm-hmm.
because the consumer is coming in to buy a category.
Right.
What he is getting in return is some kind of a brand,
Hmm.
right? Brand is the solution and the category is what he's seeking,
Right.
right? And you would have also seen this in your various experiences, Sharan.
Hmm.
So for example, why don't you take the example of maybe a Cadbury, where
Hmm.
you introduced us to different retail environments.
Hmm.
Now if you were talking to the same client of yours
Right.
who was selling baby uh,
Nappies.
pads,
Yeah.
yeah, nappies. So
Hmm.
for them, the retail environments would be very different, right?
Absolutely. So for for them, what we did was we said, if you look at the trend, nappies and sexual wellness products for the largest brands in the country sell about 70% online.
Okay.
And while this brand was already present online, it wasn't really making too much of a cut through because it was expensive.
Hmm.
So because there was no recall, they had to spend to be visible in front of the customers when they're shopping. That is becoming expensive. So it makes sense for e-commerce for them when they are an established brand. The only
Hmm.
route to establishing themselves was GT.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we went about saying it's primarily the chemist channel first. Then what we did for them was we looked at baby stores. So like First Cry, like I don't recall a few other names, but First Cry is
Hmm.
what comes to mind. So
Yeah.
mom and baby stores is what
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went
Mom
for.
and Me is another one of similar kind.
I think mom and me has become First Cry. I think
Is it
Mahindra's, right?
okay? Yeah.
Yeah. So we went after there's this chain of stores called Just Born.
Hmm.
So we classified them. They're not chemist stores. They are baby stores. They're
Hmm.
baby
Hmm.
product stores. So we
Yeah.
mapped it to them. Then we mapped it to self-service supermarkets,
Hmm. Hmm.
because even more than high-end grocer
Yeah.
who today does a lot of phone deliveries, sitting there a bulky product voluminous is not the ideal place for them to, not the best chance, not like it will not sell from there, it's not the best place to sell from.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we had the chemist, the baby shops, and the self-service supermarkets, the standalone supermarkets. We classified these stores and we set up a distribution plan to go after these three specific retail environments. And that has eased a lot of pressure because today they get 50% of the business from offline.
Okay. Okay.
So that, because why I say GT eases pressure is because you control a lot of the margins in GT. And if you can pick the right channels, you're very sure about the kind of investments you want to make in those channels and what you want to get back out of it.
Thank you for listening to CoB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's CoBBCAST.net.
Let me put you on the spot.
No, I have a question first,
Okay.
because I am I'm the one who is interviewing you today.
Perfect.
My question also was on similar lines, but I want to take the conversation further, Sharan.
Hmm.
One part of retail environment is about choosing what to sell
Right.
depending on how you classify a shop,
Absolutely.
and maybe making prioritization, etc.
Hmm.
The second part of retail environment is also about its activation.
Correct.
Yeah. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So this activation, I think we'll need a whole episode for it. This is what we'll
Yes.
do in the second part of this. But how do you activate it? Now that your product is in the store, it does not mean you put one pack in the store and wait for it to sell out. You need to be visible to the customer. If it means you must pay to be visible to the customer or the shopper, you must pay to be visible to the shopper. Because if that visibility money does not justify your throughput, then the economics is somewhere really wrong. You need to be able to be visible to the customer. You don't have to do big advertising. You need to be available in the store. You need to be visible, and then you got to give incentive to the shopper to pick you up versus other options they have in the store. You're not going to be the only one in the store anyway, especially
Hmm.
if you're a new brand. The established guys will have far greater stock weight. I remember when I was in Henkel, we used to get equivalent was 2 is to 20 was Henko is to Surf.
Okay.
So you still had to pay for your what visibility Surf would get by default of stock weight.
Hmm.
Henko had to pay for it.
Hmm.
And that's the only way we could cut through to customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever message you need to tell them, you need to tell them, you need to make sure it's audible to them. And for that, you got to spend some money. You got to spend not just money, you got to spend a lot of time and effort to make sure you're cracking it right on the shopper front. And that's what shopper science and shopper marketing comes into, which we'll get into next one.
Yeah. I think in addition to that, like you said, one part of it is visibility.
Hmm.
The second part of it is also understanding why is the consumer there, and therefore what can your communication on the shop
Right.
aid them with.
Right.
And therefore, depending on the category, one needs to put up communication that speaks to consumer and
Hmm.
their exact need state at that point in time.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
we have this famous example, right, from Walmart case study
Mm-hmm.
of nappies and beer bottles.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
That is just adjacencies. They put beer crates of beer next to nappy packs, and they realized. So what happened was, Walmart realized it was the men who were shopping for the nappies late at night when they were
Hmm.
there to do a nappy run on an emergency. So what Walmart did is they put the nappies, or rather, they put the beer cans next to where they placed the nappies.
Yeah.
So when the men came to pick up nappies, they once they saw beer, they decided to pick up beer as well, and beer sales shot up really high.
Correct.
So another example of a personal example of this is when I was in the US training with Walmart on category management. This was 2000, again 2007. So we had Henkel had a product called Super Odor Neutralizer, very poorly named, typical German style, fantastic product.
Hmm.
It was to remove odor from homes. The equivalent product from P&G was Febreze.
Hmm.
So, and nobody's heard of Super Odor Neutralizer. So in the store, uh, there was the ratio of sale was 13 is to 1. So every
Okay.
13 pieces of Febreze, one Super Odor Neutralizer would sell. So there was one store in Bentonville we were allowed to experiment. So we noticed a lot of pet product buyers who were picking up Febreze. So we said, why not we put SON, super odor neutralizer, next to the pet aisle?
Hmm.
We put it there, and you wouldn't believe, in 1 week, the ratio from 13 is to 1 became 13 is to 7.
Wow.
And that's just adjacencies.
Excellent. No, lovely, Sharon. Thank you for sharing this. I think it just shows the power of observation,
Hmm.
power of treating sales as a science, as a consequence to what the consumer needs,
Right,
and then activating it in a scientific manner to really see exponential results.
right.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
there's also looking at data, right? So when people say data analysis, you don't have to break your head. You don't have to be a technical guy. You
Hmm.
just have to see who's buying what are they buying with, why are they wanting me, where should I be present. So these are very commonsensical questions if you break it down to the core. And
Hmm.
that is all you need to do. And that is a scientific part of it. Just say asking why.
Hmm.
So I bring
Excellent.
it back to the question I was going to ask you.
Yes.
So there is this entrepreneur who reached out on LinkedIn who is selling popcorn and makna.
Hmm.
And he his packs are priced between 60 and 70, and e-commerce isn't big for him.
Hmm.
What kind of stores? So I put you as a consultant here.
Hmm.
So if he's starting GT distribution,
Hmm.
where must he start?
See, if I were looking at this, I would first possibly try and understand from him or her what has been their experience from a consumer point of view during that product market fit phase.
Hmm.
Yeah. uh, for example, are there whoever is consuming their makhanas or popcorns, are they consuming it in individual one-to-one occasions inside home? Are they consuming on the go? Or is it consumed while the guests are at home? Or is it a gifting item?
This is a new business, and
Okay.
they are what they've seen is the product is really liked by customers, and they buy again and again. The
Hmm.
repeats are very high, but popcorn has to be made at home,
Ah,
and
okay.
popcorn is what 80% of the business,
Okay. So
and
it is
different
not a
flavors of
ready.
popcorn.
It's
It's
not a
not
ready
ready to
popcorn.
eat.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's ready to make. It's a
Okay. So
microwaved and had
excellent. So popcorn is to be made at home,
right.
and it is premium to other options that are available.
Absolutely
Hmm. Okay, excellent. Then I think then the clear focus is on number one, from a product point of view, they must be delivering some superior product experience,
right.
hence they are charging premium.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are specifically targeting those occasions where you buy popcorn and eat it at home.
Hmm.
Now, largely those occasions would be occasions with friends, occasion with family, movie night,
Right.
some sort of a kids party at home, etc., etc. And hence I think you should target those occasions in terms of where you place and how you place,
Okay.
right? So for example, you earlier said there are food stores.
Right.
Yeah, food stores was one of the,
Right.
yeah. Um and then there are gift, no, not the gift stores, but the party supply stores, etc.
Right.
Yeah. Or when guests come home, there are some kind of drinks, some kind of dips, some kind of crackers that you buy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe placing this next to them within these stores, either the self
Mm-hmm.
SAS, or for example in food stores, uh, would possibly give the consumers the best possible chance to
Hmm.
pick this up when they are picking up other essentials that are needed for guest occasions at home.
Awesome. So you say focus on food stores and focus on the gift and party stores
Yeah,
and focus on the
and
adjacencies
SAS. Yeah,
and SAS. Yeah,
yeah.
SAS. Yeah, I like how you broke it down, the process of taking the customer journey, consumption occasion, and therefore the purchase decision and where they're going to shop. That's brilliant. So I think we've largely covered what you wanted to cover.
I wanted to just build on it and ask you one last question that I had in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from a traditional trade point of view, we see different kind of stores in the market.
Correct.
It is fairly easy to spot what is a pawn shop. It is fairly easy to spot what is a standalone store.
Right.
It is also easy to spot maybe a food store, which
Hmm.
is a bakery kind of
Yeah.
a store.
Yeah.
The difference between high end grocers and low end grocers maybe is a little bit not so clear,
Yeah.
and you will only be able to understand it once you
Do it
see
yourself.
what kind of
Mhm.
purchases are the consumer making,
Hmm.
or what is the kind of SKUs they are stocking.
Right.
This is all true for traditional trade.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I were to use this science
Hmm.
online,
Hmm.
yeah, and online you have aggregators who
Yes.
have all of this stocked.
Right.
What part of it can I use there?
Oh, brilliant. Because this again goes down to the same breakdown that you did
Hmm.
about where are they shopping, why are they shopping, how are they going to consume, and therefore there are you could classify the digital channel for FMCG as
Hmm.
marketplaces,
Hmm.
e-grocers,
Hmm.
and the quick commerce.
Nice.
So marketplaces are where, which is Amazon, Flipkart, where people have to order your product singularly or with the basket that they do. This is where, if you are a low value product, if you're priced anywhere less than 200, the logistics is not viable for you. That is why you would see a lot of gift packs and combo packs being promoted in the marketplaces.
Hmm. Hmm.
E-grocers, which Geomart, I think, slightly fading a little.
Hmm.
Big Basket is there. Big Basket was the pioneer in this space.
Hmm.
So what e-grocers do for you is what the regular traditional trade does, because FMCG is not a singular purchase; it is a basket purchase.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because the logistics are basketized, then you do not have to worry about the singular unit economics of the logistics side of things,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is what
Hmm.
Big Basket takes care of. So you need to be clear of, when I say I'm selling on e-commerce, am I selling on Amazon? Most people do, because Amazon is very easy to list on. It's very
Hmm.
automatic. It's very systematic. With everybody else, you need human interaction, which makes it
Hmm.
difficult. So just being on Amazon doesn't make you an e-commerce brand or make you an e-commerce business. You need to differentiate between the two. And e-grocers, the problem that they have is the delivery time.
Hmm.
And some people who are used to that are okay ordering it. I ordered it the previous day. I'm going to get it the next day. Some people are okay with it. But it is becoming an adoption barrier for people to get into the e-grocer space,
Hmm.
because the quick commerce cousin has come around.
Hmm.
And quick commerce is, people are saying the economics doesn't work.
Hmm.
But this is anecdotal information. From what I've seen, people who are shopping on e-commerce are so habituated to it, they are
Hmm.
willing to pay for the convenience.
Hmm.
So Indians do not pay for time,
Hmm.
but we pay for convenience. We are
Hmm.
lazy.
Hmm.
So we are willing to pay for the convenience, and the convenience isn't too big a charge as yet.
Hmm.
This, I'm betting, is going to be the bigger revolution in India of quick commerce delivery, and especially in the FMCG sector. When you talk e-commerce, quick commerce is going to take away a chunk of the business within these three sectors.
Okay.
And what was surprising to me, I was talking to one of the entrepreneurs. I had assumed, like in a low end grocer who will do immediate delivery next to your store for top up,
Hmm.
I thought their 250, 500 gram SKUs would be selling best, a
Hmm.
breakfast brand.
Hmm.
I was surprised to hear that even 4 and 5 kg packs sell on quick commerce for seasoned buyers who are buying on e-commerce, on quick commerce,
Hmm.
sorry.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you can see a shift in purchase behavior.
Hmm.
It might not be permanent, it might not be the norm, but the shift to quick commerce over e-grocer or the marketplaces is definitely happening.
Sure.
And people will figure out the economics of it, the retailers there. But as a brand owner or as an FMCG business, you need to know what role each of these are going to play for you.
Hmm. Understood.
If you are in the premium chocolate gifting business, marketplaces are great because it's going to be viable for you.
Yeah.
If you're in, let's say, nappies,
Hmm.
maybe all three are viable for you.
Hmm. With
But
different SKUs though.
different SKUs, absolutely.
Hmm.
But if you're in the popcorn business, like we spoke about, quick
Hmm.
commerce is going to be a holy grail for e-commerce.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe later you can possibly think about some kind of a value added gift pack of popcorns which can be viable
Yes,
on marketplace.
yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and
Interesting.
this whole thing is an evolving scenario, right? So when we did the retail classification at Cadbury, we only had the six we mentioned, right? The standalone supers, food stores, high end grocer, low end grocer, chemist, and Paan. But very soon, I think it also evolved into uh, two more got added on. One was the
Hmm.
gift shops that you mentioned,
Hmm.
and the stationery shops.
Hmm. Hmm.
Why? Because these also were great occasions to purchase chocolate.
Yeah.
Stationery shop, kids come to buy. Yes,
Hmm.
that's a great point of sale for chocolates there.
Hmm.
Gift shops, you're already organizing for a party, you're buying gifts, buying chocolates, is almost very natural there. So these get added on as the company grows. Just that not all of it is required when you start the business. You need to prioritize, focus on one kind of retail environment, and then build from there. Because I tell this to my clients, you don't decide your competition. So You can figure out your right to win, how to win. Great. But the biggest strategic decision you can make is where to play.
Hmm.
Because you can, once you define the playground for yourself, you only have to beat them in that playground you're choosing to fight them.
Hmm.
That is where you have the best chance to win. That's when you bite off exactly what you can chew.
Sure. No, very well put. I like how you've brought it all together towards the end, Sharon. Excellent. Thank you, Sharon. This is an excellent episode. I think for sales as well as marketing, guys. And it is also an excellent segue into possibly our next episode where we talk about shopper marketing.
I can't wait for that one. Because that is something that I have a bit of history on that one with talking to a lot of my clients. So I'll pick
Excellent.
it up on the next episode.
Let's do that. Okay. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Sudeep.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan and Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's CoBBcast.net.